Welcome to The Point of View. Tonight we have a very interesting show for you. It's a two-in-one show. On the first part, we'll be looking at the demise of two very important Ghanaians. Former First Lady Teresa Kufuor died on the 1st of October. We speak to OccupYBank, who's the CEO of the Kufuor Foundation. We also lost E.T. Mensah, long-term MP for Ningo Pram, Council of State member. We speak to Teresa, a member of parliament, about that. In the second part, we'll be speaking to the organizers of the Occupy BOG demonstration. Samuel George is in the studio to tell us why they are occupying the Bank of Ghana. If you like this video, subscribe to our Point of View channel on YouTube and share with your followers. Welcome back. So tonight we have a two-in-one show for you. We start with a quick tribute to former First Lady Teresa Kufuor, the wife of former President John Agyekum Kufuor. And the announcement came on the very, very wee hours of the morning of today. The incident happened last night. We are told she was surrounded by family. We're speaking to the CEO of the John Kufuor Foundation, Professor OccupYBank, for some quick thoughts on her work and her legacy. We'll also do some quick reflections with an MP who knew E.T. Mensah very well, Teresa. He spoke to us earlier in the day about Enoch Mensah, the longest-serving mayor of Accra, the longest-serving sports minister of Ghana, and a long-term MP for Ningo Pram. I have in studio Samuel George. We'll be talking to him about the demonstration tomorrow as well. But let's start with Professor OccupYBank. Prof, thanks for joining us. Good evening and commiserations.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words about the sad event that occurred some hours ago. I'm in the US and the news hit me like a piece of brick, even though we know that Madam Teresa has not been unwell for some years now. But I guess yesterday was the good Lord chose for her to perhaps depart this planet. So we thank God for whatever that he does. Thanks for having me.
I guess the first question will be, how is the old man taking all of this? Because, you know, former President Kufuor is dear to many Ghanaians. He's not a young man himself. And Teresa, he's been with for many, many years. From the perspective of the Kufuor Foundation, how is he taking this? How is he recovering from the news?
Well, as you know, as I said, I'm speaking to you from Ohio in the USA, so I haven't seen him personally. But when the news broke yesterday, I called him and had a very interesting discussions and wishing him condolences and all other things. But from the tone of his voice, I think he's quite strong in this adversity. I think he's determined to ensure that the preparation for this event proceeds very well. And I think he has the support that he needs to do that. So I'm sure emotionally, certainly if such an event happens initially, he will be a little bit disabled. But I think after the initial shock, the former president is quite strong and firm, and I'm sure he's all right.
All right. Now, what kind of woman was Madame Teresa Kufuor? I'm asking this for you to put on your political hat as a political scientist. You've written a lot about leaders. You studied Rawlings, his wife. You know Kufuor quite well. If you do the analysis of first ladies, what kind of typology would she be?
Very interesting question, Ben. I think people who followed Madam Teresa during those 8 years, she was the first lady of our republic. There are kinds of interesting observations that we learned. First of all, as you can tell, she's always very cool, very reserved, and very, serious in terms of looks and all. So there were some observations made some years back by people who thought that perhaps she was an unwilling first lady. But that's not the case at all. If you read the autobiography of the former president, written by my good friend Ivo, you discover that Madam Teresa has been the pillar in the long career life of the president. The president indeed has a very long journey. until he attained his ambition of becoming president of the country. And during that long journey, it was Teresa who stayed home to ensure that the 5 children that they had were catered for and were given what a home should provide for children. So in that respect, she was more of a mother in the house, ensuring the well-being of her 5 children, as President Kufuor was journeying through the years that he took to become president. And when he became president, clearly, Madam Teresa remained the bulwark of President's, his stay in office. Certainly, he was not a loud person. He was not one who was always raising issues, but at the background, I think she provided the support that a president would need to be able to fulfill his mandate. And I think she did it very well. In public, you can observe the woman, always her demeanor was one of grace and respect. Very calm, but quite alert to her role as the First Lady. As I say, if you put her in the context of First Ladies that we have had, certainly, most people might think she was perhaps, to use the popular word, the coolest, in terms of not needlessly making pronouncements or interfering in the work of her husband. But as I said, she provided the moral and spiritual support that the man needed to perform as a president. So in that respect, I think she was quite pivotal in the success of former President Kufuor when he was in office.
Which is interesting because we do know that she is sister to J.H. Mensah, who himself is a political colossus in Ghana. So it's a bit of antithetical to have, of course, we are not saying J.H. Mensah's family is a political family, but to have such a pioneering political economist as your brother, and then to be married to a lawyer who then becomes president, clearly she is aware of politics. So maybe her choice to be quiet was born more out of knowledge of the terrain than fear of the same.
Yes, certainly she was the brother of the colossus, one of the Ghanaian political colossus, J.H. Mensah. And J.H. Mensah himself, like Kufuor, struggled for years before they were able to achieve success to get into government. But as I've said, I think Madam Teresa respected her role as a mother first and foremost, especially when it was essential for someone to be home to cater for the 5 children that they had. And I do not believe in any way that her sibling relationship with J.H. Mensah had any role at all in the kinds of roles that J.H. Mensah played in Ghanaian politics. When the president became president in 2001, J.H. Mensah was made a senior minister, the first time such a designation was given in our politics. And rightly so, because the man was a little bit elderly. He struggled since Nkrumah's time, first working for Nkrumah himself before, I guess, getting to the opposition, being in exile and all kinds of stuff. So J.H. Mensah deserved that. But in terms of his relationship with the president, I do not discover any moment where that relationship influenced the critical decisions that the president had to make. So I think they played it very well. Teresa played it very well. Her brother played it very well. And of course, President Kufuor himself, knowing who he is, certainly played his role very well.
My final thought, if you did a book on a champong as well, so you know a bit about presidents. His wife, we are told, is Faustina. And then, of course, you did a book on Rawlings. His wife, Nana Kunedu. You haven't done your Kufuor book yet. But are you able to do an effectiveness ranking of first ladies? Or is that really an exercise in futility? Because I'm using Nana Kunedu as 19 years, wife of this very enigmatic man, and she herself was no shrinking violet, right? And then you have Achampong as well, who you know a bit more about. So, where does she place in the pantheon of first ladies, if there's anything like that?
Ben, that's another very interesting question. But in these matters, at times it's a little bit tricky to try to compare apples and oranges. Individuals have their own characters. Some like to play up or hype up the role of first lady. Others simply do not want to do that. And those who want to do that, I think that's what they want, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you look at Madame Teresa, I think her role was quite simply a subdued kind of role that he played, always by the husband's side, whenever it was necessary, at official functions. Otherwise, she was running her NGO for mother and child care that she set up. She wasn't ambitious to set up anything to project herself. Nothing of that sort was ever detected in her. But once she left office, I think the woman simply fell back to the traditional role of a very good wife, taking care of the house and managing her own business. So I think that in that respect, as I said earlier, some people even want to speculate that perhaps she was the unwilling first lady. Then that's not the case. It's just her demeanor, her attitude, everything was just motherly. I remember two stories I can tell. When the president first took me home to introduce me to Madame Teresa, when he appointed me as the CEO for the foundation, she shook hands with me. I know what she told me. He said, young man, what is important for you is to make sure you take care of your health. Make sure you eat good food, mind your diet, don't drink much, and that kind of advice. And I was surprised by that. I was surprised by that. And of course, I got to know she is a nurse or was a nurse and midwife. So she's very much on top of health issues. And that was the advice he gave me. And I remember that still today. Then also another story I can tell about her, which I did record in the book that you cited, the Champion's book. Kufuor was first in government in 69 to 72 under the Buzial government. And when the government was overthrown in 72, January, Madame Teresa was pregnant with the last child that he had with the president. And the president was jailed or incarcerated for about 15 months or so. So when the baby was born, the president was still in jail. And Madame Teresa took this little baby to Ashford to meet and introduce the newborn to her husband. Another very touching story. So I think she went through a lot of things.
Wow. May she rest in peace, and commiserations to all concerned. And thank you for talking to us, Prof.
It's my pleasure. All the best.
Wonderful. So that was Professor Bafo Agyeman-Duah, who is a political scientist, but he's also the CEO of the John Agyekum Kufuor Foundation. Well, interestingly, on the same day, we had news of the demise of Enoch Mensah. E.T. Mensah has been in Parliament since 1996 till 2016. The man who's sitting across me defeated him in a very hotly contested primary. But that's not why I brought Samuel George here. It just happens that the stars have aligned in a very interesting way. But E.T. Mensah was also mayor of Accra from 1981 or 82 thereabouts to 1992. So a long-term mayor of Accra. And of course, Minister for Youth and Sports for a long period as well, for the most part of the 90s and the early 2000s. And he initially started his work as an accounts officer at the University of Ghana. Earlier in the morning, I spoke to one of the three wise men. Now, when President Mahama got into office, three of the leaders in Parliament, Alban Babin, who was then the majority leader, Cletus Avoka, and then, of course, E.T. Mensah, were given special tasks to perform, having been reshuffled. And we named them the three wise men. So I called one of the two of the three wise men, Cletus Avoka, this morning on the City Breakfast Show to ask him his thoughts about the demise of his friend. Here are some quick thoughts he shared during the interview.
So we had a very active relationship as a result of that. Every day or every other day, we will talk, and then he will say, okay, Minister, you can do your work today. You can come back, you can come this time or come tomorrow, and the rest of them. That's how we worked very closely. Then in 2013, when the Obama won the election, in fact, in 2010, I went to the parliament as majority leader and relieved Bagbin from his position. He was the majority leader. So Bagbin went to the Minister of Works and Housing. And E.T. also went from Chief Whip. He became Minister for Employment and Labor Relations. So as a leader of the House, E.T. was also consulting me about the activities in the House and then the need for his availability. So that brought us closer together. What was where we actually went very close was in 2013, 2016, when the three of us were asked by John Mahama, John Mahama, to be in charge of the presidential priority projects. By virtue of that, I was to supervise the building of the E block schools. Bagbin was to be in charge of regional referral hospitals, and then E.T. was to be in charge of the building of an international airport at Pram area, and then also aerodromes in the various regions, so that medevaccs can easily be lifted. So that is how we found ourselves as members of the presidential task force. And then the short and the tall of E.T.'s stature, as I know him, is that one, he is bold, he is courageous, and he is resource-oriented. You recall that he was with the PNDC during the Rawlings era before we went to constitutional rule. And then he was very close to Rawlings. And then you can be close to Rawlings if you are an achiever, if you are an activist, if you are active. And then these credentials were the hallmark of late E.T. Mensah. If there was any program that they thought was difficult and they gave to E.T. Mensah, he would do it and do it well. He was resource-oriented. And he was very, very bold. There was nobody he could not attack, get close to, and then get the result that he wanted. He was fearless too. And then that is why he could organize the veranda boys of NDC to undertake any activity of the party if nobody could do it. So, and he was a statesman over and above all. And I think that we've lost somebody. The people of Ningo Pram, they have lost somebody.
Mm. So we can say this is a man who has spent most of his adult life serving the country.
Exactly. He spent much of his active life, adult life, like you said, serving the country without any blemish. He had done so without any blemish. And then he had done so, I know he was a chief executive of the Metropolitan Greater Assembly, AMA. And then definitely hold some of.
So those were excerpts of my interview with Cletus Avoka, MP for Zebila. He's the longest serving MP we have. He went to Parliament in 1993. He was out for only 4 years, so he's probably in Parliament for almost 24 years. Talking about E.T. Mensah, who also, left us. He died in South Africa. This is the point of view, but that's not what we're talking about. We're discussing as well the demonstration that has been postponed for at least twice. The police announced that they have agreed a route, and the social and political forces putting the demo together want to tell us why they're doing this. Samuel George is in studio. I'll speak to Duncan Amo as well. He is from the COPEC. Stay with us.
How do I cope with this heat?
By staying 5 degrees cooler.
Body odor is caused by germs, and on hot days, the sweating and the odor are more. That's why you need to get the new improved Dettol Cool Soap, which offers up to 5 degrees instant cooling sensation.
This advert is FDA approved.
¿Me puedes dar un cappuccino, por favor?
Sí, claro.
Emirates cabin crew come from all over the world, so they can communicate in so many languages. 你好，你好，好康，谢谢。
We're still here on The Point of View. We're live tonight. Samuel George is the MP for Ningo Pram Pram. He took over from E.T. Mensah. He's in studio. And then I'll be joined by Duncan Amoah, who's the CEO of the COPEC. So welcome again, Samuel George. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Very well.
I see you're in black. Is it because of your former MP that you're wearing the black, or is it coincidence?
The dress code for tomorrow's demonstration is black or red. Yeah, and it also sits in with the passing. Yes.
You issued a very brief statement. Let me just read it for the public. So this was as MP to all media houses. On behalf of the NDC, Ningo Pram Pram constituency, I wish to extend our profound condolences to the family of the late Honorable Mensah, the late former MP for our beloved constituency, who until his demise was member of the current Council of State, served our nation in several capacities for over 4 decades. We pray for the peaceful repose of his soul and strength for his family that he left behind. Then you signed your signature. Look, we know the background of how you defeated him. So it was quite an acrimonious race. But can we say that some of the water has passed under the bridge, and that when you heard of his demise, it was obviously something you were not expecting? What emotion met you when you heard that he had died?
Well, let me say a very good evening to our viewers. For the past 2 weeks, I had been following closely happenings with him because he had been out of town. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I got the calls from the media asking me if he had passed, and I said that no, he had not. I knew he had a few challenges. We're hoping that he would surmount them and come back. But last night, I got the call that indicated that he had passed, and I intended not to make a statement, but the media kept calling, and I kept saying, I am not the spokesperson for the family. We need to respect the family, and I think that that's what we must do at this point in time. Respect the family, allow the family to grieve. A patriarch has been lost. I mean, he's no mean person. I mean, he's larger than life. I learned a lot of what I know in politics today from him, and for that I remain eternally grateful. Subsequent events may have happened, but ultimately I think that Ghana has lost a huge political figure, and I think that we may not have studied the life of E.T. well enough. For a man to stay at the top for over 40 years is remarkable. The resilience to be able to handle all the various setbacks and media gimmicks that came up, he still remained relevant even till the day the Lord called him. I think that it's something we need to learn. And once again, my condolence to his family, and we pray that God grants them the fortitude to bear the loss.
We will say he's raised the profile of Ningo Pram Pram because it's a constituency that's easily recognizable because of the kind of figure he was. And I think the kind of interest that your contest with him generated is also testimony to that as well.
Well, definitely. I mean, Ningo Pram Pram has been blessed with fantastic representation from Parliament. And I say that in all humility. I mean, starting from our first MP, who's still alive, Honorable B.B. Kabo, who at the time was Greater Accra Regional Secretary, a fantastic gentleman by all standards. He was MP from 92 to 96, and E.T. took over from 96 till 2016. And definitely you cannot discount the legacy of both Honorable B.B. Kabo and Honorable E.T. Mensah. I hope to leave one day and hand over to someone, having also discharged myself to the best of my abilities.
Wonderful. So, well, we will just pray for the family as well and hope everything is okay. But were you able to make up with him though? Because I noticed that when Umaru Sanda interviewed him after your contest, he wasn't very happy with you. And I have not seen the two of you in public together since the campaign of 2016. So I don't know. Politics is a very interesting game, and I don't know. Were you able to because he seemed really pretty upset with you about the way you went about your campaign to defeat him. Were you able to make up with him?
But time heals everything, and I believe that at this point in time we must just respect the rights of the family to grief. This should not be about Sam George and E.T. Absolutely not. It must be about celebrating his life. And so absolutely. I think that my response to that would be that time heals everything, and I think
Wonderful.
we should accord the family some space to grieve.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you say you are wearing black for two reasons. We've
Yes.
dealt with the first reason. The second reason is the demonstration. This demonstration appears to have been the longest planned demo because, I mean, I don't know whether it was August, then it became September, and finally it's happening in October. Just give me a quick overview of how we got here.
Well, I think we've gotten here because of the I don't know whether it's fear or panic by the powers that be and the Ghana Police Service acting as a conduit for those powers in trying to frustrate this demonstration and trying to make it appear as though this demonstration was a threat to the very democracy. This demonstration is actually an expression of the democracy that we practice. The various excuses, for me, it remains untenable that even after we've agreed with the police service, even as late as this evening, the police service is changing the route without recourse to us.
You mean the route they announced in the press conference is different from what you agreed with?
Oh yes, that's not what we agreed with them. The last position is not where we agreed with them, and so we would discount the police's route, and we would continue with what we agreed with them. I have very good friends in the police service I've spoken to in the lead up to this demonstration, and I want to assure them that the promises I gave to them that this would be a well-organized, peaceful demonstration will remain same. But I told them that it would be so on one condition: if the police also behaved itself. And so the police should not try to change last minute. The agreed route, if you look at the route that the police have put out in their press statement, everything is fantastic and kosher until the last but one point where we do the U-turn.
Okay.
We agreed that we would move from Obrasport through Adabraka, take a detour in front of the NDC office, get to the Ridge Roundabout, move from Ridge Roundabout to the National Theatre, and then from there take the road all the way up to the Atamils Highway, and then take the High Street.
So you pass near the Octagon.
Yes, Octagon, all the way through Bukom Boxing Arena, get Shraj, get to that traffic light, take a right towards the Bank of Ghana, go all the way to the Supreme Court traffic light, and do a U-turn.
They say you do a U-turn early.
Now they are saying we should do a U-turn at the National Lotteries Authority.
And then you get to the Independence Square.
And I don't even know what we are going to do at the Independence Square. Why should we go to the Independence Square? We are not going there
so was the demo to end at a particular place?
Yes, we'll either end there or we come and end at the Freedom Arc. That is where we would end. You know, so I mean, and I don't see what
it's a minor detour.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You see, but these are the things the police will do and use to create an incident tomorrow. And so that's why I agreed to take this interview, so that we set the record straight. The police service must stick to the agreement. They cannot on their own.
So the agreement
change.
was that you will pass. We
will do the U-turn at the Supreme Court traffic light. That was the agreement.
Which is close to the BOG.
That was the agreement.
But now he's saying you do it at Lotteries, which is maybe 200 meters before.
So the police can choose to do the U-turn there. We will continue going.
It doesn't really matter whether you do it at the Supreme Court.
So then why are they changing it if it doesn't really matter?
I don't know. I mean,
so we
I wasn't in that meeting.
The police have done. They've danced Agbaja and Congo and Palogo with this demonstration change. I mean, we've had a back and forth. We finally agreed on a compromise position. Less than 12 hours to the demonstration. You want to change the location.
Maybe you could have done a joint press conference. You know, in some jurisdictions that's done.
Yeah, but that is when the police is acting in good faith, and I want to believe that the commanders who will be on the ground tomorrow will act in good faith. I know them; they are very good gentlemen, so they would act in good faith. We will do our U-turn at the Supreme Court. When we turn there, we'll head back towards the Independence Avenue.
Was the initial plan prior to this meeting to picket at the BOG itself?
We're going to the Bank of Ghana,
but that was not agreed.
And for me, I don't even understand the logic behind it, because Bernard, I was serving in government when the demonstration was held by Esankuma and Ken Ofori-Atta. In fact, that day, I joined the demonstrators.
This is the Occupy
Flagstaff House.
The first one?
Yes, by Occupy Ghana.
There were quite a number.
By Occupy Ghana. When they did the Occupy Flagstaff House, I was serving in government with them.
From Children's Park to...
I moved with them. Look, we were at the traffic light, the National Theatre traffic light, when it started raining. We walked in the rain all the way from there through Kufuor Sutherland Children's Park to Afrikiko.
Yeah.
And then we asked the leadership, and Afrikiko is actually the wall of the Flagstaff House, because the French embassy had moved. There's an entrance to the residency of the Flagstaff House just by TV3. That's where the demonstrators stopped. Valerie Sawyer, Dr. Valerie Sawyer, who was then Deputy Chief of Staff, was the one who walked in the rain to receive the petition at the entrance of the Flagstaff House. Esankuma and Kenoforiata went there. They stopped at Afrikiko to eat pizza and continued to the Flagstaff House.
Is that a matter of fact?
Oh, yes. I was with them.
So you ate the pizza?
I didn't eat some of the pizza. But they ate the pizza.
Did they offer you some?
They didn't offer me. They said I was a government person.
But what were you doing in the demonstration?
I was trying to understand the sense of the demonstrators. I was a government, I was a presidential staffer at the time. I wanted to understand why they wanted to occupy the Flagstaff House. I had friends who were there. So
but they didn't enter the Flagstaff House. They just gave the petition.
Nobody will enter the Flagstaff House. Okay. And look, Bernard, we have staged a demonstration, was it 3 years ago or 4 years ago, as a minority. We went to the Flagstaff House to protect the media. At the time when the gentleman who received the petition is the one who subsequently was exposed by Emmanuel Aditi of Star FM. He used to be, what's his name, Roxy or something. He used to be, he was a presidential staffer, a minister of state at the presidency from up north. That day, we went to the ceremonial entry, the ceremonial gate.
This is MPs?
It wasn't just MPs.
Other people joined?
It was a whole demonstration.
Okay.
With over 20,000 people. We got to the presidential, the Flagstaff House. They came out, there was a police barricade, then there was the military behind them. The minister came out, we exchanged pleasantries. In fact, in that demonstration, my responsibility, I was the last person to move. I was moving with a team of people who were cleaning up the city. So after the demonstrators moved, we had bags and we picked up the pure water and everything to make sure that the Flagstaff House was not left dirty.
So your point is that you don't see the fuss about, like, not allowing people to
Under
get
President
close to...
Kufuor, we have gone to the Flagstaff House. So this whole talk that...
So when you met the police, did they explain to you why they didn't want you to go and do a sit-in at the Bank of Ghana?
They said it's a security zone. That's all.
You agree with that?
What makes the Bank of Ghana more of a security zone than the Flagstaff House? We are not going into the Bank of Ghana.
You wanted to go around the precincts of the Bank of Ghana. But were you going to do a sit-in or just basically
Bernard,
you can do it, like you can sit there for weeks. People go to...
Our demonstration was a one day. I have a sense that, and you're a man of faith, I have a sense that because of the sins in the Bank of Ghana, the police
the sins
in the Bank of Ghana, the police and the government think that the Bank of Ghana wall is like the wall of Jericho. And that when we march around it 7 times, it will come crumbling down. You get me? Because I cannot think of any other reason.
So was the plan to march?
Oh, we would have raised prayer to God.
And then you shout.
Yes, and would have shouted the voice of triumph, and it would have expunged the sinners and the crime. That is, look, the Bank of Ghana is a crime scene, Bernard.
That's a very serious thing to say.
No, Bernard, I can justify it. Anything that flouts the laws of Ghana is a crime. Agreed?
But that has to be proved.
And I'm about to do that. The Public Financial Management Act, the PFMA, states clearly, in section 102, it is clear that the PFMA would apply to all covered entities. Now, in section 102 of the PFMA, it defines what covered entities are. It says they are autonomous constitutional bodies. The Bank of Ghana is an autonomous constitutional body. Now, it says that for an autonomous constitutional body, a covered entity, to write off a debt, it must come to the people who represent Ghanaians, members of parliament, and explain to them why they are writing off government's debt, and justify same and seek approval from those parliamentarians. The Bank of Ghana has written off 32 billion for the Kufuor government. 32 billion without recourse to your MP, without recourse to your representatives. they're a covered entity by the PFMA. They flouted the PFMA. And don't forget, apart from flouting the PFMA, they've also flouted the Bank of Ghana Act, which we have revised to say that you cannot borrow more than 5% of the previous year's revenue to the government. They borrowed 80 billion. Bernard, 80 billion.
They lent 80 billion to the government.
Yes, they lent 80 billion to the government. Thank you for correcting my English. The government borrowed 80 billion from them.
Yes.
And they lent 80 billion. On what basis did they lend 80 billion? For them to be able to lend 80 billion to the government of Ghana, it then means that 80 times 0.05. It then means that government revenue in 2022 should have been somewhere in the region of 4 trillion.
Well, of course, that's if they followed that formula.
Absolutely.
But
now,
I'm sure you've read their justification in terms of...
What's the justification?
They said that there was an emergency situation and the economy, you know, around July, August last year, the currency plummeted. Ghana was locked out of the international markets.
For which Gabriel Chidaku blamed me.
Payments were due. So if they hadn't done that, their calculation was that the whole economy would have collapsed. So they believe they did that to save the economy.
Which part of the Bank of Ghana Act says that they are a fire service?
Would it have been acceptable if they had come to Parliament to ask for permission to do the thing they did
during COVID? They didn't even come to Parliament to ask for permission, but at least they came to notify Parliament when they wanted to exceed the 5% threshold. They didn't come to ask for permission. No. They came. The finance minister came. He didn't come with a motion to seek Parliament's approval. He came with a statement and just read to tell us. But this one that we're talking about, they didn't even consider your representatives.
So didn't the finance minister at any point in time indicate to Parliament the request he was making to the...
No. And that's the crime.
So why are you picking on the Bank of Ghana or the finance ministry? Because it's two legs. It's the two... Indeed, the losses are on account of monies they lent to the finance ministry, the fiscal side, for which the finance ministry asked them to write off, for which the BOG then asked for advice, for example, from the IMF team, whether this was going to affect the economy. And indeed, it came out, according to the BOG, that if the BOG did not write off those debts, the IMF program wouldn't have come on.
Bernard, this is like ECG waking up tomorrow. Muhammad Dubik, MD of ECG, waking up and saying that if we don't write off our debts to VRA, ECG is going to go back. So VRA, what we owe you, we've written it off because government institutions owe us and they've not paid. And then VRA will also tell the IPPs, we're also writing off the 1.8 billion or $2.2 billion debt we owe you because government institutions owe ECG and they're writing off the debt. Do you think that's tenable? Because they're all autonomous state institutions, they're all covered entities. Would we accept that? Is that acceptable? Did the finance minister put a gun to the head of the governor of the bank?
If you read the BOG...
As for the finance minister, he will answer to God.
If you read the BOG statements,
yes,
you can say that they felt that if they didn't agree to accept those write-offs, the IMF program would not have been approved.
So this is tantamount to you saying that my son is hungry, but because I don't have money, if I didn't go and steal to feed my son,
I don't think
I don't think I
quite use the same example.
Why?
Somebody has
you are committing an offense.
No. What I'm saying is that this is a different analogy because this is a central bank, which is the lender of last resort, we know, and they've lent money to the country because the finance ministry is the fiscal arm of government, and the finance ministry is saying that based on the debt exchange, different people have written off portions of the debts that we owe them. So the BOG should do same. The BOG writes to the Lazard and then the people who are overseeing the IMF program to ask their view on the matter. And the position is that you have to accept those losses. Otherwise, we will not advance the 3 billion that Ghana needs for the IMF program. So I'm just saying to you that this is the defense they've given. I'm not saying don't demonstrate, but the analogy you give with the ECG may not necessarily be the same.
Why wouldn't it be the same? And even with the food,
because ECG is a revenue collecting entity, as is the same as
but the Ministry of Finance is a revenue
but the BOG is not like that.
No, the BOG also makes profit. They hold funds. In fact, and I heard one of the excuses they made, which is very, very critical. They claim that it is the funds from the commercial banks that they actually gave out to borrow to the government.
No, but BOG doesn't perform regular banking transactions.
No.
So if a BOG makes a loss, it's not the same as Stanchart or Barclays making a loss.
And that is why BOG must not make a loss, because the BOG should not be making a loss.
But
it is our last resort. It is our buffer.
Yeah.
So if our buffer is making a loss, then where do we turn to?
But I'm saying that
you understand me? The Bible says to your tent, so eagle. Now the tents are torn. So where are we going?
Fair enough. I'm not here to defend. I'm just saying that the meaning of a BOG loss is not the same as the meaning of a commercial bank loss.
It is, in fact, it is more critical. It is more dangerous for our economy. Look, the BOG's losses are occasioned on the fact that the BOG chose to print money. 80 billion.
But the BOG was not
Bernard,
created as a profit-making entity.
Bernard,
it's a stabilization instrument.
Bernard, if you don't let me make my point.
Okay, make the point.
Yes. 80 billion. They choose to print. Now, you know economics better than me. I know IT better than you. And Baumia. But you see, you know that in economics, when you print 80 billion and just pump it into the economy, what will happen? Inflation. Because there's money that has really not been worked for in the system. That is what drove inflation to almost 48%. And in trying to curb that, what does the Bank of Ghana then do? They raise the policy rate. Right now, the policy rate is somewhere around 30%.
But if you say,
and in raising the policy rate,
did they print 80 billion? Because the figure I know is around 37. So I'm not sure if they
lent 80 billion. They printed money. Have they told you how much they printed?
No, I'm saying that what I know is that in 2022 they advanced 37.9 billion to the government.
Yes, but it's not. This 80 billion is not over. It's over 2 years. It's over a 2 year period.
What I know is that in 2020 they gave government 10 billion.
Yes.
So if you add 10 to 37, that's 47. I don't know where you got your 80 from.
48 billion. But the whole loss at the Bank of Ghana, if you read the audited reports, it's 80 billion.
Yeah, but the loss doesn't necessarily mean that's how much they give.
No,
I'm just saying that.
No. Bernard,
I'm saying that I'm coming on.
Okay.
Based on the BOG statement, 2020 they gave the government 10 billion.
Yes.
And 2022 they gave the government 37 billion.
So that's almost 37 point something, about 48 billion,
yes.
almost 48
so
billion.
So they didn't print 80 billion.
No. They printed about 47 billion for almost 48 billion.
Yes.
But the total loss when the auditors audited the books of the Bank of Ghana is 80 billion.
Yeah, but I'm saying
no, Bernard. Yes or no?
Yeah, but you can't say that means that they printed 80 billion.
Bernard, what is the loss at the Bank of Ghana? Is it 48 billion or 80 billion?
Yeah, but the loss
for us to understand this.
The loss is not the same as printing. You see, a loss is not. You are
I have said two things. They printed money.
That's true.
And they have also created a loss.
Yes.
That the auditors found.
That's also true.
Now the loss is the major set.
Yes. Yes.
The universal set.
I'm saying
the
that's
subset.
true.
The subset is printing of money.
Yeah, but
what is the total loss at the Bank of Ghana? You are the one who will be giving me the figures. What's the total loss at the Bank of Ghana?
I'm saying that the loss of 80 billion does not mean the.
So there's a loss of.
That's all I'm saying.
I have not said so.
Okay.
I have not said so.
We just want.
I am saying
the public to understand that.
And the public needs to understand that the loss is 80 billion, and you agree with me on that. You are not contending with me on that.
But you said they printed 80 billion.
They have printed money. You've told us that they printed almost 48 billion. Fine.
Yes.
That is not the total loss at the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
I can't go and be demonstrating for half of the problem. I'm demonstrating for the full problem. If you are fixing the problem, you fix it completely. Bernard, you know these figures better than me. What is the total loss at our Bank of Ghana? 80 billion. Am I right or wrong?
That's true.
Fantastic. It is that 80 billion that we are asking Addison the printer, how did it come about? If our central bank is posting a loss of 80 billion, what does that then say about our economy? Bernard, we are going to take $3 billion from the IMF over 3 years. $3 billion is less than 35 billion. Cedis. So the loss at the Bank of Ghana is almost 3 times the IMF deal we claim is going to save the country over a 3-year period. So it means that if we take 3 IMF programs before we get what the Bank of Ghana, based on poor policy and management, has lost in 1 year. And you see, in all of this, Bernard, I sit back and I was at a community engagement at La. In that constituency, Ladale Kotopon, under John Dramani Mahama, the Bank of Ghana posted profit, and out of its profit, built the Bank of Ghana hospital in that constituency. That hospital became the saving grace of Nana Addo Dankwa Kufuor's ministers when they contracted COVID.
We'll take a short break.
Wait. Let me land in 10 seconds.
We'll come back
now, the same Bank of Ghana, in the same constituency, with the same Nana Addo Dankwa Kufuor, went and broke the Lekman Hospital. Now, it's a La General Hospital. It is now a playground for goats and a breeding ground for pythons. And now the Bank of Ghana says they are building $250 million, $250 million head office. Why? Because they said there will be earthquake. The place you say we are going to demonstrate. Now they say there's earthquake.
We'll come back and deal with some of those issues. This is the point of view. My guest is Samuel Nate George, a member of parliament, and the minority group is one of the groups organizing the demonstration. Stay with us.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Just close the doors, and you're in a world of your own. Travel is not just about the destination, it's also about how you get there. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Finally, anyone can become a house owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated funds, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
We're still on the point of view. Samuel George is in studio, is MP for Ningo Pram Pram. The minority group have finally agreed with the police on a route for demonstration, although there are some tiny details. What numbers are we looking at? I wanted to sort of find out why the BOG and not the whole finance setup, because if you look at the whole thing in full, it's both the monetary and the fiscal leg that has brought us here. You also do know that the monetary authorities may not necessarily be politicians, may not necessarily be. So that the recourse they have to public discourse may not be the same as the finance ministry people. So if you look at historically the relationship between the finance ministry and the BOG, the finance ministry is more public facing than the BOG, generally. So why is the minority particularly upset with the BOG and not the overall financial management, which would then include even the finance ministry? Do you get my point?
Yeah, I do. And Ben, let me just state that my brother Suhini came here, but he said
because of some production
issues. Yeah.
So Alasan Suhini, thank you for coming, but Samuel George is in the hot seat.
Bernard, we have not said that this is the end of the demonstration.
Okay.
It's in phases. Already, the minority on its own had initiated a motion in Parliament to try and get the finance minister out. He was protected by the majority caucus. and saved by them, and which spoke to a lack of integrity on their part, because they had stated that they were going to get him out. In fact, they claimed that they were keeping him to just pass the budget or get the IMF deal done. Then later they said the budget, now he's going to outlive most of them, because most of them would end up losing in their primaries because of that lack of integrity, and he will still be at post. But you see, the Bank of Ghana, it's critical we focus on the Bank of Ghana, because when you look at the fact that the Bank of Ghana spent 131.6 million Ghana cedis in 2022 alone on motor vehicle maintenance. Why? Are their cars driving, even those who drove 10,000 kilometers to London, Accra to London by road, how much did they spend on motor vehicle maintenance? And this is 114% increase. You see, you need to look at those figures in context. It is 114% increase on their 2021 figures. Yeah. So you're asking yourself, what happened? How did that increase come about? The same Bank of Ghana spent 97.4 million Ghana cedis on foreign and domestic travels, almost 100 million Ghana cedis. That is almost 246% increase on the previous year. So why? The governor of the Bank of Ghana, is he running the Bank of Ghana from abroad? I mean, where were they traveling to for 100 million? We thought it was only Nanado who was traveling in private jets. Asamoah, the governor of the bank and his people, they've also teaching there. 250% increase on the previous year. It is important that we go there, because directors on the board, they pay them 8.6 million Ghana cedis as their remuneration, and 87% increase on 2021. Why? Are they increasing? On what basis are you doing the increase? And Bernard, you see, when you increase all of these things, when you increase the amount of your travels, you increase your board members' remuneration, allowances, and all of that, you spend 357, almost 360 million on banking supervision. We would expect to see a commensurate increase in your productivity. But after spending all of this money, increasing the remuneration of board members, they record a loss.
Well, but the loss was not an operational loss. It was a loss occasioned by the debt exchange.
No,
so I'm just
not all of it was occasioned by debt exchange. Debt exchange took away what? 48 million. The total loss, we are talking 60.8 billion. So what happened to the rest of the money? Where did that other loss go to? And Bernard, you see, the point that was being made, that look, from 2012, the Bank of Ghana had been consistently making a profit of about 1.5 billion. Yeah. And then in 1 year, you lock out all of that.
But what if they say that 2022 was a strange year?
What was strange about it? What was strange about it?
The currency fell from about 5 to the dollar to about 15.
Well, whose fault is that? Who handles monetary policy?
The Bank of Ghana.
So Bernard, they create the problem, and they use that as an excuse.
But you recognize that most emerging market currencies also fell.
None lost 54%. Our currency was the worst performing in the world. Even Ukraine, where Russia was dropping bombs on a daily basis, their Bank of Ghana managed it better.
You also recognize that
the Russia-Ukraine was being fought at Alajo.
But you also recognize that a lot of central banks made losses in 2022.
None of them recorded a 54% loss
of
their currency.
Okay, so but I'm just saying, I'm talking about the loss in the central banks globally.
How many central banks? They will mention Australia, they will mention Japan, but ask yourself, what was the depreciation of the currencies that those banks were managing?
So for you, even the currency depreciation, which may have occasioned economic challenges, is their fault anyway.
So the question, Zimbabwe's dollar. The question Zimbabwe's dollar performed better than the Ghanaian cedi. Look, this should cause worry for you.
So just assuming the governor had come to Parliament to say that the Finance Ministry says they are in an emergency and they need more money than you approved, so Parliament should deliberate on it. Would that have changed the story?
Absolutely. Because we would not have approved 80 billion for them to give out.
Or even if for some reason Parliament approved it, the program
there would have been checks and balances. You see, when you come to Parliament, the committee is going to ask you questions. Parliament as a plenary will ask questions.
Have you invited him since this happened to come and explain why he did it? The governor?
Oh. Well, I'm not aware that he's appeared before the finance committee to explain.
But do you know if there have been attempts to invite him?
Well, I can't speak to that. I don't know that for certain. So
because I'm asking this because you would typically expect that, and I'm not saying minority to not demonstrate, but you would expect that the first recourse would be to come to the House.
The finance
like
minister,
most ministers, when
the
they
finance minister has been to the house. I mean, he's been summoned to the house. The finance minister has come to the house and tried to offer some cut and bull explanation.
So my point is that can the parliament invite the governor?
Well, the governor can appear before the committee, not the plenary.
Before the committee?
Before the committee. Because the governor doesn't have agency in the plenary. He would do that through the finance minister. You get it? So the finance minister has appeared.
Because I'm asking this because I've heard Adongo say that the governor has refused to attend upon the relevant committee. So this may be the minority trying to show him.
Well, like I said, I'm not a member of the finance committee. Okay. And I can't speak on authority as to if an invitation has been
But you do not know for a fact if he has appeared before any committee.
No, I serve on the public accounts committee. Even that one, most times he doesn't appear. Even when there are audit findings, he hardly appears. In 7 years that I have been on the public accounts committee, I'm sure the Bank of Ghana governor, Edison, has appeared before us about 2 times or so. And every year, at least we meet the Bank of Ghana twice. I mean, he has very little regard for
Because I've heard his deputies, I heard them.
Yeah, Maxwell is the one who most times will come. You know,
yes, I've heard him appear before public accounts.
He will appear before public accounts and all of that.
But is that not? Is not?
It is the governor who ought to appear, not his deputy. Because you see, there are times when you ask questions and they'll tell you that, well, the governor has to. Yeah, they say, well, because the governor has to answer this, they can't answer. You understand me? And when you are summoned, the summons from Parliament, especially public accounts, and I know all the other committees, is to the sector minister. In fact, when you are supposed to answer questions on the floor of the House, and you know we've had issues on the floor where we've refused to hear deputy ministers answer questions because the question is to the minister. When Parliament summons you, you must appear. But the governor, because he thinks he's a printer, he doesn't care.
So what numbers are we looking at tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow we'll see. The numbers will be out there. You will see the frustration of the Ghanaian people. It will be put out there. And look, I mean, let no one take for granted the anger of the people. Let no one take for granted the desperation and frustration in our country. You know, and this is simply on the back and on the doorstep of the Bank of Ghana. You know, because what the Bank of Ghana has done with this poor fiscal policy, monetary policy, is simply driving businesses out of operation. Because right now, when they've raised treasury bills, interest lending rates have gone so high, businesses cannot borrow. Businesses can no longer borrow. When businesses cannot borrow to finance their operations, what happens? They do layoffs. They cut down productions. Businesses are packing up and moving to Ivory Coast. Job losses here in Ghana. And this is all because of Edison.
But beyond all this, you approved the finance minister's budget anyway. And the finance minister is the one who benefited from...
Which budget?
The previous budget that they passed. This budget that we are running.
Well, that budget did not approve them going to borrow 80 billion.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
I'm saying that.
So which budget are you referring to?
You are lamenting about the economy, but I'm saying that the budget that the finance minister is running currently.
But who says that? Who says that what we approved is what he's working with? Who says that? Who says that the checks and balances, the checks and balances that were put in the budget were for him to comply with the 5% cap in 2022? Did he comply with it?
I'm talking about the current 2023 budget.
And I'm telling you that you look at what he did in 2022. Does it show you that this is a finance minister who complies? The only thing he complies with is wearing white and quoting Bible. Apart from that, he doesn't comply with even his own budget. What he's supposed to do, releases what Parliament has approved in appropriations for ministries. I can give you a in 2022, we approved 92 million Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Information. He released 956,000 Ghana cedis, less than 1 million.
My question is that
does this look like a finance minister who complies?
Parliament does not have the tools within the House to stop him, which is why you are going out.
The tools we have are supposed to be a vote of censure of the finance minister,
which the majority did not agree.
Which the MPP MPs need to go and respond to the people of Ghana on why they decided to keep such a person in office when the majority of Ghanaians said he must go. The MPP MPs need to respond. They need to explain to not just their constituents but the whole Ghana what informed that decision.
We wish you well in your demonstration tomorrow.
I hope I will see you there because Bernard, this affects you. I know you're not naturally someone as big as I am, but you've lost weight because the economy is taking a toll on you. Because Bernard, and I mean, let's call a spade a spade. If you took your salary, not under NDC, your salary that you are paid here, and you look at how much your salary was when Nana Addo won his re-election in 2021, and did the dollar value and did it today, even if Samens has done a 30% increase for you, you are still about 50% the value of what your salary used to be.
As the Gamma will say, we're paying 1p.
We're paying 1p.
Thank you.
You see the fine that your cameramen are giving me. I wish your camera company. Your cameramen are telling me more fire. Tell all of you, Samens, please declare tomorrow a holiday for them. Let them all come and cover the demonstration. In fact, the policemen who will be with us, we are demonstrating for them.
Thank you, Samuel George. We appreciate your time.
We hope to see all of you there tomorrow.
Yes, that was the MP for Ningo Pram Pram speaking to us on the demonstration Occupy BOG. Earlier on, we spoke to Bafo Ajimandria on the demise of former First Lady Teresa Kufuor, and we spoke to Cletus Avoka on the demise of E.T. Mensah. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.